Spider-Man No Way Home was one of the biggest success stories in comic movie history. I've said it before, but I really don't think anybody was expecting the movie to explode the way it did, despite the public's love for Spider-Man. Spidey has always been one of the most popular heroes in the world, but he's not the kind of character to single-handedly make it to the top 10 grossing movies of all time, at least not in a post-Avengers world. The Raimi trilogy, it was successful, but that was long before the MCU started raising expectations for box office projections, and obviously movies like Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, they blew Raimi's records out of the water. But still, Spidey's a beloved character, and despite the first two MCU Spidey movies not breaking records, the third entry, it became one of the highest grossing movies of all time. And this was actually supposed to be the final entry in the MCU Spider-Man saga, and according to insider reports, Sony was planning on taking the character back full-time and doing their own thing with him so they could keep expanding their Venomverse. But following the success of No Way Home, Marvel Studios got Sony and Disney back in the negotiating room, and they figured out a deal for another trilogy. Not too long ago, we reported on the recent rumors regarding the state of Spider-Man 4 and whether or not it would actually get into theaters by the end of Phase 5, but we just got new intel that could actually shine some light on the timeline and perhaps even give us some insight as to what the plot could be for the movie. Welcome to the Chaos Multiverse, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos. Make sure you drop a like. Make sure you subscribe. Stick around for the entire video because we're going over Spider-Man 4 leaks and rumors, and it could actually be coming sooner than we think. Now, a while back, it was confirmed Sony would have their own panel at the upcoming CCXP event, but it was also recently confirmed that Marvel Studios is going to have a panel of their own. Sony has flat out said we should expect a lot of surprises at this conference, which many people interpreted as Spider-Man 4 news. But without Marvel Studios being there as well, it was questionable. Personally, I thought Sony was gearing up to show us more of Across the Spider-Verse and perhaps announce Venom 3. There was likely also going to be an official trailer for Kraven the Hunter, maybe a behind-the-scenes look at Madam Web, but as for Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Sony's connection to the MCU, it was up in the air. But a trusted insider known as Alex from CC on Twitter recently posted a thread with some very interesting information. On November 24th, Alex posted, "Here are a couple of interesting tidbits regarding the upcoming Marvel Studios panel at CCXP 22. From what I've been told, the panel will run 45 minutes, should start around 5:25 or 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, and the panel will highlight the upcoming release of Ant-Man 3. Marvel will also discuss other projects. This includes Guardians 3, but I'm also being told by sources to expect surprises. Perhaps a Secret Invasion or a Loki update. I also know everyone really wants an update on whether or not Marvel will provide an update on Spider-Man during the panel. They won't. Only Sony can do that. Is their panel still happening? Is it canceled? It's up in the air. From what I understand, certain things are still being worked out behind the scenes. Hopefully it pans out. It may have already panned out by the time you watch this video, and we learn about Spider-Man 4. It's now shifted into a more advanced level of pre-production, hopefully. An announcement could be imminent, but we'll see if Sony comes through for it. Even if Sony shows up, but there's no Spider-Man update, there is a lot that Sony can show off at this. I mean, Across the Spider-Verse, Kraven the Hunter, Madam Web. It's a waiting game. Now, I know that was a lot to take in, so let me break it down here. Basically, Sony announced they were going to have their panel at CCXP, but that was before Marvel Studios also confirmed they would be there. With the next MCU Spider-Man movie chugging along through production, it seems likely that the announcement would actually be handed off to Marvel Studios instead of Sony, but now with both studios being at the expo, it's unclear who handles the reins. Both companies have a lot on their plate right now, and Alex did hint that only Sony could announce the fourth MCU Spider-Man movie, but given the popularity of the MCU, I think it would benefit both companies if Marvel was the one to do it. After all, that's what happened with some projects in the past. Sony owns the right to Spider-Man. They're going to get their money on the big screen, but they work alongside Marvel to create Tom Holland's movies, while Marvel is totally in charge of the big team-up and crossover projects. So, Sony would be the ones making Spider-Man 4, but it seems completely logical that Marvel Studios would actually be the one to make the announcement during their conference, especially if they're going to be talking about the future of the MCU and where the story's heading. Ant-Man 3 is going to be a major plot point for the MCU's timeline, and Secret Invasion is going to shake things up to its core. Now, despite how slow Phase 4 was, Phase 5 is looking like it's going to get a lot of hype surrounding it, moving fast, and Sony, they would want to benefit. Allow Marvel to be the ones to handle Spider-Man's 4 announcement and marketing. It makes sense. But then on the other hand, there's been a lot of rumors suggesting that Sony is going to be bringing Spider-Man into their own cinematic universe alongside Venom, Kraven, Madam Web, so it's possible they want to handle the announcement themselves, since they're ultimately the ones who could benefit the most from it in terms of box office sales. The MCU is going to do well at the box office no matter what, but after the abysmal failure of Morbius and the questionable future of the Sonyverse, I'd be surprised if Sony, I wouldn't be surprised if Sony wanted to be the one to announce Spider-Man 4 so they could get more eyes on their projects and make sure people start taking them seriously. At the end of the day, Everybody seems to be in agreement that Spider-Man 4 will have some kind of presence at CCXP. But it's up in the air who is going to announce it, who's going to talk about it, how much information we're going to get. Given that the project is in pre-production, I wouldn't expect any kind of trailer, any teaser at all, but maybe some concept art and an official title. So where does that leave the movie? I kind of skipped over the big news in that thread, which was the fact that Spider-Man 4 has officially been moved to an advanced level of pre-production. That's a big deal. In case you didn't know, this movie didn't even exist a few years ago. Like I said earlier, No Way Home was supposed to be the final MCU Spider-Man movie, and it wasn't until after that movie's release that Sony and Marvel came to an agreement for another trilogy with Tom Holland as their guy. With No Way Home not even a year old at that point, it's pretty incredible that the project is chugging along this quickly. No Way Home hit the theaters in December of 2021, and the agreement for the new Spider-Man trilogy was made a few weeks afterwards, meaning this movie is moving along the production cycle very quickly. In less than 12 months, they've managed to lock down stories, contracts, get everything ready for full production and filming, which is extremely fast for a project of this size and budget. I mean, this does kind of throw Spider-Man's 4 placement in the Phase 5 timeline into question, but it also seems to back up the leaks we reported on not too long ago about at least one new Spider-Man movie coming out before Avengers Kang Dynasty. Tom Holland has reportedly been signed on for 2 Avengers movies and 3 solo Spider-Man movies, but in order for him to show up in those Avengers movies, he's going to have a story of his own in the background. I guess it's not possible or impossible that Spider-Man lays low for a few years, pops up in Kang Dynasty out of the blue, but I don't think that's the path at all. They're not. They're not going to take that path, especially with Spider-Man fever being at an all-time high. If they're pushing Spider-Man 4 to pre-production, I think it's absolutely confirmed that the movie is going to come out during Phase 5, likely between Fantastic Four and Kang Dynasty begins, before their marketing campaigns. No Way Home left Peter in a strange place, but there's a million directions the story can go, even on a grounded level. Given how much Peter knows about the multiverse now, I think he could end up being a key player in the plot of Avengers 5 and 6. It's also totally possible that the rumors of a Venom arc are true. We actually start seeing the outlines of that in Spider-Man 4. Then it truly blows up in Avengers 5 and 6. Now, rumors have been flying around about Spider-Man 4. While the legitimacy is always questionable, I do believe this report that the movie is being pushed through production quickly. Not only does Sony want to capitalize on Spider-Man fever, but they also kind of need to beat the clock in order to make their next movie fit in with the MCU's timeline. Avengers 5 and 6, they're probably not going to be delayed again. And if they want to get a slice of the MCU pie, they need Spider-Man 4 out in theaters with enough time before Kang Dynasty that they don't cannibalize their own ticket sales. I mean, it remains to be seen if the movie's quality is going to suffer from a rapid production cycle, but I have confidence that Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige are going to treat it with care. The quality of the MCU's output has been questionable over the last couple of years, but No Way Home is a huge standout, so the follow-up, it has big shoes to fill. I'll keep you updated if anything new comes out of this, but you should 100% expect to see some kind of Spider-Man news at CCXP later this year. Don't expect trailers, but I think it's safe to say we'll be getting some kind of production update, maybe an official teaser, logo, something, release date, something. I'll keep you guys posted.